Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Rick and Morty Gotron Jerrysis Rickvangelion. And I really didn't like this episode. I think it escalated to kind of like a weird point and smashed together two things again that could have been better kind of explored on their own. It just seemed like kind of a mess of an episode to me. Like, let's parody like Voltron, Power Rangers, Neon Genesis Evangelion shit, but not really put as much work into actually going for it than at other times. This was a weird episode to me. It just didn't seem like they put as much thought and care into doing everything that they needed to do for what was going on. So, we start off the episode and we see that Rick, Morty, and Summer are going to Boob World, and because of protests and trying to make Boob World into more of a female empowerment kind of thing, they'd get in for free if they brought Summer. So they're like, all that, alright. Rick then passing by a moon sees the blue Gotron ferret thing there, and it's like, yeah, alright, let's do this thing, while Morty wants to go to Boob World. It's like, alright, cool, this is the kind of friction there. Rick, for some reason, is really into the Gotron ferrets and just goes for full fucking force. I don't mind it, but usually they put a little bit more thought into, like, character motivations, where this is just like, okay, they want to do this, so it gets a little plot demandsy for my tastes. It's like, okay. Then we have Morty doing a voiceover in his head. We got Summer doing a voiceover in her head to kind of set it up. And the thing is, they go around and collect the remaining Gotron ferrets, and they're pretty much just then chilling at the house, and we get that Jerry and Beth are just like doing their own kind of thing, but then they're like, hey, there's like this giant monster that's attacking this other kind of planet. Let's go and do this. It's like, what? Okay. And at first they're like, we don't really want to do it. And then someone's like, your kids want you to do this. Then, of course, bringing up all the kind of crazy shit that their family has done to be like, okay, you can't choose the family you got, so kind of come with us and do this. So they go and do it. They get into their, of course, parody of the whole sequence of, like, all of the different kind of ferrets are in different places around the world. They get shot out. They have Rick pretty much run point and opens up the portal there. Rick, of course, has to go through all this stuff. Now, at first, I'm like, okay, I can kind of see what's kind of happening here. I'm kind of alright with it. They kind of attack the monster, get pushed back, and then, of course, they go into the whole transforming mode, and they're like, yeah, we're literally too big to fail. As they, like, beat the shit out of it, do the whole thing, and then, yeah, okay. So they keep kind of doing this, but then they're like, hey, there's other universes, and he's just obsessed with collecting them. We're not really privy to why he's obsessed with collecting them. Now, granted, it does fit into Rick's kind of whole thing to become obsessed about something, but we're usually given more of a thing because he's just like, oh, okay, because then we get brought in other Ricks, Jerry's, Beth's, Summers, and Morty's and everything like that. Morty, of course, doesn't like how he's pretty much being pushed to the side and everything, which I think is an interesting kind of story arc to kind of explore, but it's here just done surface level. And it's just pretty much then leads to other segues to other kind of jokes that are just like, that's it. And that's kind of the crux of what's kind of been happening a little bit. At first, I was like, oh, okay, they're actually kind of doing it, but then we just have a joke that's pretty much just like, oh, okay, that's there. I don't really find it funny or offensive. I'm just like, that's it? That's all you can do with this? So, then we get into the kind of the casino mode where we then have like 5 Ricks council-wise, kind of mafia-wise. One of them kind of acts like an asshole and pretty much just like runs away to then pop back up randomly. But they start collecting other Gotrons, ferrets from around different kind of universes, and just creating giant, more and more giant kind of robots. I guess trying to parody the kind of like escalation shit that kind of happens in those kind of mecha animes. Kind of similar to like Gurren Lagann, But actually, Gurren Lagann's a better kind of parody of that shit in and of itself, while actually being a good example of that as well. Because in that one, they get into a level where their fucking mech is, like, as a fucking universe in its goddamn, like, stomach region. Damn it, now this makes me want to watch Gurren Lagann. That was a good one. But we continue, and it goes casino-wise. They pretty much evacuated a planet to save him from, like, a monster kind of thing, and they use it as a hideaway. Morty's delegated to, like, chiefs, like, an assistant security officer kind of thing, and he's just, like, standing outside at one point. And we also see that Rick is doing all these kinds of things and going further and further and further, and Summer's like, this is getting kind of weird. And Morty gets pulled away by some of the pilots that the Gotron parents have been stolen from, and they pretty much just make him, like, I would say, parody of, like, anime people talking about, like, also cultural appropriation, even though, like, they don't really delve into it. They just use the buzzword without either making fun of it or, like, going in depth into it. So I don't mind it. It's just like, it's like throwing something on the table and just being like, look, it's there. It's like, alright, I need a little bit something for that. You know what I mean? Like, and then they're like the basic kind of anime stuff. Like, I didn't really feel that they did a Rick and Morty kind of thing with it. They just did different kind of, like, anime facial expressions, or did, like, weird kind of anime things that you usually see in other anime. And I'm just like, alright, okay, that's fine. But I usually hold them to a standard where they do something a little bit different, or, like, explore it more, or just, I don't know, it just didn't really land with me. Well, Morty's like, fuck you, I'm not gonna help you out. And they're like, alright then, fuck, we'll kill you. Morty's able to kind of, like, jigger himself away, like he's, like, trying to, like, fight with the dude with the blaster, kind of shoots the person who's driving, and then is able to get back home. But of course, that's where the weird kind of fucking Rick pops up and just, like, killed a lot of people before getting killed himself. Of course, they then kick Morty out of the family kind of business kind of shit. He's just sitting at home drinking a high C juice carton, pretty much. Summer then is trying to deal with everything that's going on and wrangle the rest of the other various different kind of family members that they've reached throughout the multiverse, not really knowing which ones are her parents or whatnot. They eventually get kicked out, and then they're, like, pissed off. They kind of figured, like, dealing with her mob style, but then she gets kicked out as well. And Rick is left alone, using a new workforce, the Kendra chick, who somehow survived the crash, because that's why he fired Summer. She then talks about how she's been in contact with the incest baby that survived space and was taken to Mars, tried to teach it to be actually a cool person, and it broke out of prison. Well, it's a containment facility, not really a prison, though it would be considered a prison. They're afraid that Rick is going to be killed by the people who they fucked over. He gets this Tony Montoya kind of moment, and they make this giant-ass Gotron ferret robot thing, and the anime people try and take their revenge, but they kind of get fucked over because they use the baby, and they nickname it fucking Naruto. I'm like, okay, that's just basic ass shit. Like, I understand if you're not really into anime and you're like, oh yeah, Naruto, I get that. But it's just like, incest baby that they're using as kind of like a mech monster kind of thing to kind of get Rick and protect him, which they do. And then they kind of, like, leave out. It's like, okay, we got a giant incest baby named Naruto. I just need a little bit more work with it. It's just like, alright. I don't find it offensive or anything. I'm just like, alright, it's doing nothing for me, man. It's doing nothing for me. Just, alright. And trust me, I've seen some Naruto. I got nothing against it. And I don't mind if it's made fun of, because there's a lot of shit you can make fun of Naruto for. I've seen a lot of different kind of things of like people analyzing things and all that kind of shit, and I'm just like, it's this incest baby, and you named it Naruto because you're making fun of anime. There's no other reason that I would see that it's done for that one. Alright, fine, whatever. So it pretty much ends, and the family's all together and all that. The monsters are still attacking, killing millions, and it's like, oh, okay, they leave Jerry outside. It's like, oh, shit. We then get the stinger at the end that the monsters are actually from another dimension universe thing, and are trying to spread the information of how to cure AIDS, but for some reason, their teleportation method takes away their clothes and makes them pretty much giant size, and nobody can fucking understand them, so they're trying to tell everybody what the cure of AIDS are while they're being pretty much destroyed and killing people because they're disoriented and shit like that. I'm just like, alright, this one definitely is a not working one for me. I don't mind their core concepts, but you mash them together, and this is this is an example of like the sum of the parts should be better than what we've got. It's like, okay, this should be working on a better level than what has occurred, and it's just lessen them. Like if they did a thing where they just parodied the shit out of anime and did it full fucking force, I'd have been fine with it. Or if they parodied Casino with all the different kind of multiverse things of their family, sure, I'd be good with that. But smashing them together, they don't really work that well how they connected them, and the escalation, you always have to be careful with how you escalate certain things to how wacky it gets, because you'll get to a certain point where it's like, we've done crazier shit than this. Why are we doing this? That's when you usually want to delve more into like character moments and have that as kind of like a palate cleanser for a little bit before you go for a next wacky kind of thing. Loading it up with just wacky things for a season, that's kind of a recipe for it not kind of working and kind of fucking you over on certain things, which I think this could be a trend for this season with how certain escalation factors have been working. So, overall, I really didn't like this episode, and I would rather them focus on one core concept of what they're trying to do, storytelling-wise, be it parodying something or doing a really good kind of character thing to show how the characters are doing in certain relationships to a certain kind of like storyline that they're doing. Sometimes those work a lot better, but when you start mixing all these different kind of parodies, you're gonna get jokes that really could just be better than just being like, oh, okay, here's this, here's that. Like, there's a lot of shit they could have done with the Gotron parrots and whatnot, and the Casino one, and I just feel like they went with what the basic kind of shit that they could get away with. I don't know, when you set a standard, you're going to be held to that standard, and I'm just like, okay, if this is the new standard you're setting, I don't know, man. We'll have to kind of see. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.